I appreciate everybody coming out this morning. This is a very honorable opportunity to come out to speak to a bunch of people who don't know who the hell I am or where I'm from. It's a very good deal. I'm a little jittery and nervous, but as I get through it, I think you will be able to understand some of the context I will lay out today. Before I get started, I would like to dedicate this opportunity to two people that resonated with me as I prepared these notes. The first one is Tamir Rice, which I feel is a victim of a serious problem in America and a tragedy that has happened right here in our backyard in Cleveland. The second person is my dad, John Hart, and the reason why I'm here. Not just because I'm the swimmer that made it to the egg, but for other reasons that I will provide context for. So, who am I? Since time is short and I kind of run through these notes as quick as possible, I won't go into extreme detail. But for those who haven't, I invite you to read the bio that's on the CreativeMornings website to provide you with a little bit more background information as to who I am. But in short, I am Mr. Soul, born Kevin Hart, and raised in the southeast side of Cleveland, Lee and Harvard to be precise. I am a direct product of hip-hop culture, its positives and its negatives. I am hip-hop. I am the extension of my ancestors who fought, who are probably still fighting to the grave. If art was gangbanging, I would be considered a certified OG with a lifetime membership and over 22 years of actively putting in work for the creative community. Lastly, I'm a multidisciplinary artist. Brand identity, music package design, illustration, mixed media, fine art, mentor, visual prophet are some of my gifts. But today I didn't come to talk about my work. In investing a lifetime of blood, sweat, and tears in perfecting my craft, I feel that my work and my talent speaks for itself. And I'd love to converse with any of you after this talk about my work and what I do. I came today to provide you with some context and share with you what I feel are signs for my topic, which is I'm supposed to be here. This time last week, I was laying in a Cleveland Clinic hospital bed. After being flown by helicopter from South Point Hospital to Cleveland Clinic's main campus. My primary doctor, who I was in to see for a checkup, and the ER doctor that she sent me to go see, came to the conclusion that my EKG was a little iffy, and the reading suggested that I had, or that I was having a mild heart attack. So I'm sitting in the ER thinking, wow, helicopter. That shit is about $40,000. Speed down 480 right quick and get there in a less fashionable manner. But the main campus is where they had the ability to do the extensive testing that I needed. And so they didn't take that serious. And so it was up and away for me. After a day and a half, they determined that my heart and my arteries were in good shape, and I could go home, which best fit my narrative because I knew the following week, today, I was supposed to be here. When you're supposed to be somewhere, no naysayers, haters, gossip, weather, or even you sometimes can stop the divine nature or purpose of why it's your destiny to be wherever here is. Whatever work, influence, and even failures you are to manifest have been chosen by a higher power and higher purpose as lessons for yourself and others. If you show up late to a party and you're supposed to be there, it is not a party until you get there. Even gatekeepers, those who assume control of the destiny of others by possessing this magical key to opportunity, cannot contain a goalkeeper, one who has a divine purpose that grants access to the keys, the gate, and everything behind it. So, after taking my talents to Atlanta in November of 1996, I was able to build some relationships that turned into family, And over those 20 years, I learned in various ways that I was supposed to be there. I got my start at a place called Patchwork Recording Studios, where everybody from TLC, Outkast, Tony Braxton, Destiny's Child, Carlos Santana, Cher, and many, many more recorded or mixed their albums or songs. I've been a part of that family for 21 of its 22 years of business. That relationship led me to meeting two visionaries, Tookie Carter and Maya Bailey, both of whom, so these are some of my Atlanta experiences. Tookie Carter and Maya Bailey, both who are the owners of a tattoo shop called City of Ink. Now, before City of Ink, we failed 3 times working to try and create what City of Ink has become, the epicenter for the urban youth art movement in Atlanta, and a business model for how artists can generate income from their passion and their talent. Through City of Ink, we created a movement, a subculture of young and old, student and street scholar, white, black, Latino, purple and green, 9-to-5 and self-employed artists, and art aficionados. We mentored, employed, and taught a young generation how to be artists and other people how to appreciate them. In February of 2018, we celebrate 11 years of doing this. During that 11 years at City of Ink, during those 11 years, City of Ink turned into a shop number 2, then a retail store called Local Brands Only, where we sell our own merchandise, a 5,000 square foot gallery called Notch 8, that's on its 3rd or 4th year of showcasing artists who would otherwise have nowhere to be featured. And in February 2018, my brother Maya will reveal a new community art space in a historic, renovated building down the street from our mother shop. Community in the sense that the community has volunteered its time, material, and low-cost labor because they believe that that space is supposed to be there and that it will do great things. All of this started with no rent money, no bank loans, no drug money. Just art, passion, purpose, cultivated relationships, unity, and the most important thing, actions behind the word. Creators of our own destiny through the principle of Kujichagulia, which is Swahili for self-determination, identifying with the notion that we were supposed to be there. So a couple of years ago, I remember having to motivate my brother Maya because he was given an opportunity to speak at a Creative Morning session in Atlanta. I remember him realizing that he was going to be talking in front of over 300 white people for the first time and not knowing what to say. So I told him to go up there and talk that shit we represent. That supremely honorable and inspirational truth. Now that was easy for me to say because I was in the audience looking at him. Right? But in that moment and in that conversation, I was supposed to be there for my brother to motivate him, and he killed it. Now I'm here in Cleveland talking that shit, right? And he told me I'm supposed to be here to represent the culture that we cultivate. But just because you're supposed to be somewhere based on a higher power and a higher purpose, it doesn't mean that it doesn't come with trials and tribulations that can rock the very core of what we believe in and how we feel. So in preparing for this morning, I watched Daniel Gray Contar's speech on death last month. Daniel was a writer for a magazine myself and my brother published for a year before we took our talents to Atlanta. The fact that his topic was death and the message he gave for his lecture totally changed the dynamic of what I wanted to say this morning. He had a quote that resonated with me, which said, even as we're going through a lot of pain and struggle, just remembering that that rupture is really going to take us to the next phase. He used his experience being fired as a teacher, being disconnected from all that he built, relationships with kids, programs, his comfort zone as his point of rupture, which gave birth to a bigger mission, opportunity, and goal in his 12 literary arts venture. The word rupture and that topic of death resonates heavily with me because in October 2016, I unexpectedly lost my father to a ruptured aorta. I spoke with my father for a couple of hours on his 69th birthday on October 4th, and 2 days later, my mother called me crying, my cousin calling me back to say I'm sorry. Rupture. Death, Daniel Gray Cantor's speech, signs. So my father passing away is the reason why I'm here. My mother was supposed to have an important surgery the day we actually buried my father. So I had to come back to be what my father would be for my mother in terms of support and care. 2 weeks after burying my father, I was back in Cleveland, disconnected from 20 years of family, friendship, business opportunities, resources, and helping to build something beautiful. But my mother needed me, and I was supposed to be here to help her through. And I was supposed to be here for her to help me through. Got another slide that I was supposed to show. Next slide. It's a picture of my dad I want to show. So, those friends and family that I left in Atlanta told me that I'm supposed to be here to do something great. It sounds like a lot of pressure to me, but I've been finding my way, working to cultivate new relationships, and to help be a part of building something that is reminiscent of my experience in Atlanta. Since being here, I found myself actively involved in Cleveland's art politics. After delivering a speech at the Cuyahoga Arts and Culture February board meeting, I was asked by CEO and Executive Director Karen Gall Mills to be a part of the Support for Artists Planning Team, put together to address some major issues with racial equality and opportunity in their funding practices. So in being here, I met a lot of great people. I met some people who have listened to my story and believed in my passion, my purpose, and my spirit. And I want to close my conversation with 2 of those people. So I've had a lot of conversations about art and art politics over the past year. Liz Maltings, who is directly responsible for me being here speaking today, is one of those people who have put actions to the words that we've discussed. And this is a result of that action, me speaking here to you today. Being the connector that she is, she introduced me to a lady that is another ultimate sign that I'm supposed to be here. So Liz, Jennifer Coleman from the Gun Foundation, and myself had a cool happy hour meeting a little while ago to talk about Cleveland art. So in this conversation, Jennifer asked where I was from, and I told her that I was from Lee and Harbor. She was like, okay, cool, I'm from Lee and Harbor. Okay, great. I said, I'm from the street, I grew up on Broccoli, which was my street. A lot of times people confuse that with broccoli. It's broccoli. So her eyes got big and she got kind of quiet. And she asked me what house. So I said 16317. So Jennifer jumped out of her seat and she said, get out of here. And I'm like, why? And I don't remember the year, but she stated that she was in that house from something to 1979. So I was like, get the fuck out of here. So I was like, hold up. I called my mother on the phone and I asked my mother what year we moved in the house and who did we buy the house from. So things are starting to resonate because I remember Coleman as a name. I was about 5 years old, but I remember Coleman. So my mother said, Edward Coleman, he was a police officer, and his wife, Jennifer, I believe she was an architect. I said, you would not believe that I'm sitting here with Jennifer Coleman right now. She said, get the fuck out of here.
Did you say what?
Excuse me?
Did you say what again?
No, because then at that point, I realized something. That Jennifer Coleman and her husband sold my father the house that I grew up in over 20 years of my life. Okay? And so Liz is ecstatic. She's like, oh, I feel optimistic about, the great things that we can do. And I said, this shit is eerie to me. This is far and beyond optimism. Optimism could not put these pieces of a puzzle together. This is nothing short of a divine intervention. Another sign that I'm supposed to be here in this room, in this city, and in this creative universe. Last slide. I want to end with a quote from one of my favorite artists, Tupac Shakur. And that quote says, I'm not saying that I'm going to change the world, but I guarantee that I will spark the brain that will change the world. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your ear. Thank you for your energy.
Lots of time for questions. You guys start popping hands up if you guys have anything to ask Mr. Sowell. We got him here.
Yeah, because I tried to make it quick. At first I had 20 minutes, and Tom was like, make it 15. You should probably go over.
You did it. You did. You're great.
Thank you. Question.
So, yeah, just figure. I'll tell you when video shits out.
All right, so I have a rule. When you ask a question, you just got to say your name.
All right, I'm Jim. So, you're not a politician, and we're not going to talk politics here, but I am curious about your perspective on Cleveland. You're an artist, all right? So I'm going to try to, but art often is about politics. Can you talk to us a little bit about what the differences you see and the gaps that exist and the opportunity that there is that you see coming back to Cleveland based on your perspective on Cleveland from Atlanta?
First thing is there are no politics that govern art in Atlanta. That's the one thing. Two, there isn't a pool of money that people are buying for that keeps people separated. My experience in Atlanta was a diverse community, as I stated, young and old, white and black, everybody in a space that I can go to. Coming back home was a little discouraging because the politics that I've been involved in, the conversations I've been involved in, have been how to break down racial barriers in a format that is supposed to unite people. Art is supposed to unite people. Unfortunately, here in Cleveland, my honest opinion is that art is not uniting people the way it should be and the way that it will.
So, okay, quick follow-up. So what can we do to span that gap?
That's a conversation that's more than me being able to answer right here. But be engaged. Go to other places to see art. Get out of your comfort zone. And learn about other cultures and other people is very important. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, Shayla. I want to know the name of the author about the death that you were talking about. What was his full name?
Daniel Ray Contar.
You know how to
Kontar. And he did last month's Creative Mornings, and his topic was death. Question. Liz.
What is your vision of your divine intervention in Cleveland?
That is a broad topic as well. My vision is to come as I am and be who I am. And in doing that the past year, I've attracted the energies that will help me change the scope of what Cleveland is. I can't say verbatim what that is because I'm still trying to figure out adjusting to life after being somewhere 20 years. So that's a lot of pressure to be able to address. But I do know that my purpose in this universe as an artist has attracted me to people like yourself, Some of these people in the front row who I met, Jordan Wong, Cinnamon, who I went to school with, Jay Workin, who works with a whole lot of children here, Michael Gill in the back of the Can Journal, and Josh, okay, who I met at Weapons of Mass Creation, who's a young artist who doesn't know I learned a lot from him. So just walking in the space that I'm supposed to be in, I feel like I will attract the change and the energies through the law of attraction. Yes, ma'am.
What advice would you give to a young artist that's trying to get connected in the community? They're very talented, but doesn't know how to get his work out. Are there groups? Are there things that you belong to? What have you found to be valuable resources for yourself?
Very good question. Growing up for me, the most important component to develop my artistry was being around other artists. Growing up in a black community, there are a variety of circles of influences that can take you either way. I was attracted more towards the art influence. And so I had a mentor who was a graffiti artist named Sano, and he took us under his wing. And through him and through that practice, I learned how to do that for other artists. So for that young artist, and if you're involved in their life, get them involved with other artists, take them to art shows, engage and submerge them in all things artistic. And their respect and appreciation will develop. And their question base will develop. And then the people they get to ask those questions to will fulfill, will give them more insight in terms of what direction they can move in. But the most important thing I would say is to just be centered around other artistic people. That's been a very great thing for me.
Are there any groups in Cleveland that you know of that gather artists, and especially young artists?
Unfortunately, I'm glad you said young artists. Every room that I've walked into since being in Cleveland, I am almost the youngest person at 43 years old. That's a travesty, okay? My experience in Atlanta, our movement, I have a rule. I don't work with people over 30 years old because at a certain age, you're stuck in your ways and your reception to information is kind of blocked. So my movement that I was a part of in Atlanta was 18 to 30. And here, unfortunately, I have not encountered or been anywhere in a space where I've seen that diversity, age or race. Question? Somebody have a question back there? Yes, sir.
No. And what do you see as, or if you haven't, as the biggest untapped opportunity in Cleveland that maybe you saw in Atlanta, or that you just something you noticed here that could be a good opportunity as far as artists?
A couple of things. One, again, involving the youth. In history, in all revolutions that have changed the world, the youth have been the ones to make those changes. That's one thing. And repeat it again. What was the question?
Untapped opportunities.
That's hard to say for me because I'm still trying to figure that out. I can only speak from my experience and my perspective, and that perspective is that the artistic community has to come together from the east side to the west side in order to experience or even determine what those opportunities are. In the back, right here.
I'm Matt. I'm interested in the music side of your artistic career. Do you have any stories from Atlanta back in the day, and also who you're listening to today? I'm looking for good suggestions.
I'm all over the place. I was just telling my friend here, it's a lot of music out, so I kind of get overwhelmed. So I kind of have my old school playlist. But being in Atlanta, so I have a story. So one of the reasons why I moved to Atlanta because I was heavily influenced by the music of Outkast. Everybody know Outkast? Yes. Okay, so Outkast is part of a collective called the Dungeon Family. The Dungeon Family is centered around a production company called Organized Noise. They produce all the music for Outkast. They also produced Waterfalls for TLC, if you remember that song. So I wanted to work with Organized Noise. and I was sending mail and packages. This was before email and internet in 1996. And I met Rico Wade, who was one of the producers of Organized Noise in Atlanta in July of '95. So my follow-up was packages, logos, and that shit just wasn't working out. So that was the reason why I moved to Atlanta. I wanted to work with Organized Noise. So by chance, I was walking through Greenbrier Mall, and I ran into Sleepy Brown, which is another component of Organized Noise. And he invited me to the dungeon. And so the dungeon was this place where Organized Noise produced all of these hits. And by being a part of that organization, I had an opportunity to meet and be in studio sessions with Outkast. I was a part of their photo shoot when they did the Dungeon Family album. And I eventually did the logo for their collective, the Dungeon Family, some maybe 15 years ago that they still use today. So that would probably be my single most important experience because I moved to Atlanta to work with them. And not only did I develop a business relationship, Rico Wade, Sleepy Brown, and Ray Murray are all like my brothers. I can call them and talk to them like about things not regarding music. But being a part of Patchwork Recording Studios, there's a whole lot of stories and stuff. Question? Yes, sir.
Brad, and what kind of art are you doing today? Are you still doing commercial stuff, or are you doing anything that'll be on display?
I do everything that I mentioned. My profession, to pay the bills. I do graphic design, so that's brand identity. I do music package design. One of my biggest projects was for an artist named August Alsina. If you listen to R&B music, I did all of his packaging. I worked with him about 3 years before he was signed to Def Jam. And then I also do fine art, which is really my primary focus being back home in Cleveland because it's a direct vehicle for me to express myself. Working as a graphic artist is limited because I'm under contract to fulfill someone else's creative vision, whereas a man of passion and purpose like myself, I have way more to say than I can say through somebody else's project. But right now, I dibble and dabble in everything. I do a lot of digital work. I actually have, I brought some of my first prints that I created. So this is a piece that I created. This was done on my iPad Pro. And I output the artwork myself. These are some limited edition clays that I did. So this is kind of like where my heart and focus is now, because through this piece I can speak to a variety of people in ways that I can't through my commercial art.
I see recently you became a member of Support for Artists Planning Team. What do they do?
So in June of this year, Cuyahoga Arts and Culture, which is an organization that everyone who is into art should familiarize themselves with, we're under a lot of backlash because of inequitable funding practices. And so because of that pressure, they assembled this team. This team was comprised of a diverse group of individuals from different backgrounds. Liz Marcus is one of the participants. Jordan Wong is one of the participants. And we came together to develop a set of recommendations that we presented to the CAC in terms of how to better support artists in more equitable ways. And so we finished that work on December 11th. I wasn't able to attend, but on December 11th, at the Cuyahoga Arts and Culture Board meeting, the Support for Artists Planning Team presented their recommendations that we came to as a group, as a collective, for the CAC to consider.